Not going to lie, that one stung a little bit, but we can all agree that was probably the weirdest game we've all watched in a really long time.
Understatement.
Yep.
Psychos and sickos unite for a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 edition of the PHNX Suns post-game show. Of course, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHNX365. Deposit 10. Place a bet for 5. Get $200 in bonus bets. And also brought to you by our friends over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. Big shout out to everybody who came out to watch the Phoenix Suns suffer an unfortunate late game loss to the Houston Rockets, but at least we all suffered through that together. Appreciate everybody who showed up and showed out at Wild Horse Pass. Always a great time over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos.
Hey,
but
you right there.
You?
Yes, you.
Them?
Do you?
Looking forward to seeing you at the next watch along.
That's true. The
Pull
Suns
up.
probably lost because you
Pull up.
weren't there.
Yeah, you.
But of course,
Are we talking to the shot clock right now? Is that who we're talking to? Yeah, you didn't show up, shot clock, or whatever moron poured water on it.
yeah, that was insane. I'm Eric. That's Gil. Steven Espo, the freckled mamba behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. Even though the Suns lost, still hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you're a member today or a diehard. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. That was an unfortunate game that I do believe the Suns should have won. The Suns were really in control of that until the fourth quarter. The Houston Rockets pulled ahead, and then the end of the game, some late-game heroics from Devin Booker, a rebound from Dillon Brooks. Wasn't enough as Kevin Durant called the game with about 5 seconds left to go. Hit a three. Suns lose by 3, lose the tail end of a back-to-back. What are our initial thoughts, our initial reactions to what was a strange game?
That sucked. The ending sucked.
Real. That's real.
I will say, just kind of taking you through how we got to that point, right? I was really impressed with the Suns kind of being the aggressor to start the game. We knew they had a weird day, knew they got to Houston today, knew that they were definitely thrown off of whatever their typical game day routine is on the road. So I think that was very interesting for them. It's forcing the Rockets into some mistakes early on is what we saw. They looked a little sleepy to start the game, but I kind of expected the Rockets to respond the way they did, and it was a fight in the fourth quarter, and obviously you want to come out on the right end of it, but all things considered, that was basically the effort that I was going to ask for from the team.
Yeah, for me, it was definitely a missed opportunity. Key number 1 today was get greedy. The start to the game was 1,000,000% that. I said if they were going to get this, it would be off the strength of their defense, engaging them in the game early after the travel adversity, which would then naturally lead to the offense. I feel like we saw those dominoes fall accordingly earlier in the game, and then don't want to make excuses, but the shot clock issues I'm sure had something to do with the game flow because, look back at that moment. I'm not making excuses, but it felt like the Suns were about to start creating one of those sizable margins that they typically can control throughout the rest of the game for a team that was going without their best player in Alfred Sengun.
Oh, you mean a random 12-minute unnecessary
a
break?
Full quarter's worth of break.
Because some moron couldn't put the cap back on his Gatorade and then swung his arm and spilled it all over everything? Yeah, that couldn't have had any impact on a team that couldn't get into a city until about 3 hours before they played a basketball game. Easily one of the oddest games I've ever seen. They still held tight and played well in it, and in the end, Kevin Durant won it in a way that we've seen Kevin Durant do a million times before. And good on him. Good on the Rockets getting a win. And I understand that Jordan Ott's whole theory is no excuses, but if there were ever a game that tried that, a 24-hour period that tried that mentality, it was the last 24 hours and all the bizarre things that happened. But guess what? If I had told you on Saturday that this team was going to come out 1-1 in these two games, you would have said great, and you would have said, hey, you know what? even if one of them was a blowout, fine. You get a win against one of the two teams that you've struggled against this year, one of the two top teams in the West in a lot of people's view, and you would have been all right with it. And they almost came away with 2 wins. I don't write off losses, but I'm all right with the result of these 2 games.
I mean, I think this one is a unique loss in the sense that I think for like 75 to 80% of the game, the Suns played like the better team tonight. Now both teams.
That 13.
Yeah, I mean both teams were also missing really good players. Jalen Green, theoretically the Suns' second best player, at least that's what we thought going into the season. Alperen Şengün, I know KD stands and Alperen Şengün stands will argue about who's the best player. He's at least top 2, right? So both of these teams down one big player. And look, as much as the clock stuff was weird, and don't get me wrong, especially at that moment where Jordan Goodwin was coming in and continuing what he did against OKC, the Suns were really putting it on at the beginning of that game. Houston just couldn't get in a rhythm. Like, both teams had to play with that, right? Both teams had to sit there for 12 minutes. Both teams had to hear the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for an entire quarter. So for me, I don't put that as much as, okay, the Suns were cold, because honestly, after that, the Suns still played better than the Rockets. But at the end of the game, Houston executed better. The Suns kind of faltered a little bit. That could have been a little bit of fatigue after coming off of the high of last night and the weird travel day today. But Houston was just a better team. At the end of the game, they executed better, and the best player on the court, and Kevin Durant, hit the game-winning shot. Sometimes that just happens to you.
Well, my problem with the clock was not necessarily the delay. Yeah, we can make jokes about it, and I will for the next 24 hours. Don't you deny that? But what I had a problem with was at the end of the first half. I think if you go back and watch that, there's at least a second on the clock that the Suns should have had the opportunity to make a bucket. Now, does it make a difference in the end? Probably not, but those are the kind of little things, margin-wise, in a close game that can make a difference. And when you are on the road and the home PA guy is essentially the clock that's counting everything down, and the guy next to him with a stopwatch or an iPhone stopwatch is the one deciding whether there's time left on the clock or not. That's where my problem is. And they're lucky that didn't continue through the end of this game, because we could have had a real ugly mess on our hands.
There's a lot of room for human error with the clock stuff. And, outside of that, we talked about it wasn't even necessarily that the Suns were their sharpest in the first half, but they were much sharper than the Rockets were. And the Rockets rounded out into form and into shape. And once they got sharp in the second half, that was ultimately the difference. They made 1 or 2, obviously the shot itself, but they made 1 or 2 more plays down the stretch than the Suns did. But it got to the point where, when the Suns were facing that 7-point deficit late in the fourth before that run they went on to get back in the lead for a moment, we were a little concerned on where the execution was going to be. If the Suns had enough, because they had been sharper, especially all things considered, through the first half. The third quarter, it kind of faded a little bit, and we got to that point where it's like, oh, do they have enough? And they had 1 more left in them. They just needed 1 more stop in the game. They might have been all right, or 1 more bucket.
Well, right, and when you look at that late game execution, Steven, you look at like a 5-0 run just from Jabari Smith Jr. alone off of a 3, and then an offensive rebound and a layup off of that. And then you look at the final offensive possession that really counted for the Suns. Obviously, the last play, Devin Booker doesn't get the shot off in time, 1 second left. They've tried to go to that play a couple of times over the last few years. Grayson Allen's hit a game winner like that where you pass it to the other side of the court. But it's the possession before that I kind of want to key in here. Steven, there's about 15 seconds left in the game. Devin Booker holds the ball for quite some time, puts up a contested mid-range fadeaway. We've seen him hit those shots, but at that point he didn't hit anything, no rim, no backboard at all, shot clock violation. How did you feel about that possession from the Suns?
Well, it was an example of how the entire second half went. I think they had 18 in the third and 19 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. It was snail's pace offense. Didn't have too much rhythm going. Everything was tough and contested. Let's do a thought exercise, guys. Let's close our eyes, and I'll guide you through what we're doing, okay? So everybody eyes closed, everybody in the chat too. So if I told you that the Suns were coming into this game and they won the turnover margin, they were 6 steals better in terms of that margin. They also won the assist battle. They were only -4 in offensive rebounds against a team that's historically great at that. They knocked down significantly more threes, and they took 1 more shot, and they also had the game's leading scorer, and they also had 23 fast break points in the first half alone. So if I told you there were all of these factors, and they won and controlled so many margins, You would think this is a game that they won.
I would picture a chat with no KD stands and a celebration.
Can I open my eyes?
I'd
Nope,
also
I didn't say to yet.
Okay.
I'd also be asking you how many times did the shot clock malfunction?
Well, if you asked me that and we were doing this star exercise before the game, I would not be surprised that you asked me that because I would not be surprised by anything but anybody else here for sure.
So am I allowed to open my eyes?
No.
Okay, I'm just gonna do the rest of the show like
I'm
this.
just surprised you being disobedient.
Hey, we're
Papa
Okay, well,
Ruby.
I don't like that you
Papa
said that.
Ruby.
I don't
Papa
like.
Ruby.
I
Has
don't
he
like
ever
that.
listened
I
to
don't like
anybody
that.
for
I don't
that
like that.
long a time?
I don't
in his
like
life?
that at all.
Hey guys,
I don't like that at all.
who are we with our eyes closed
I
like
was-
this? We're the NBA refs.
I,
All right.
I was about to make
What a
a legitimate basketball point, and you had to bring out the word obedient. Look, I'm sorry I brought up the Steelers score,
good boy,
but I don't know if you
good
saw, but
boy.
your college team just got gamed in the FCS football championship because they missed a field
That's
goal.
Hold on.
okay. That's okay.
So,
I
hold on,
ain't
let me-
watched them in years.
let me-
And don't act like the good guy. You brought up the Steelers in pregame.
Let me help you here. Your football team just fired their head coach
Good.
after 3 of the worst seasons we've ever
He
seen.
tried to do this
lo-
before. I don't care. It doesn't affect me. Look, Steven, going back to before you said the word obedient to me, when you told me to close my
Trigger
eyes, and I,
words.
as a good co-host and as a good friend, I followed your
Man,
lead.
somebody
Okay.
rewind the post
I
game.
followed
last
your
night,
lead.
24 hours
Okay.
ago, man. Get
I
out of
followed your lead.
here. Yeah.
I would
About
say
time.
the Phoenix Suns got Phoenix Suns tonight because what we've seen so many times this season is
Yeah.
there are games that they have no business being in, right? The other team shoots better. The other team has the highest score. The other team plays a cleaner game, but somehow, some way, the Suns stuck around and they played better and executed better down the stretch. This feels like what we have seen copy and paste the Suns do to other teams this season, and on this night, it just happened to be the other way around.
I think that's. I wanted to acknowledge the Suns side of things. Kevin Durant is amazing. I don't think that's news to anybody, and if it is,
Now, some
please
people.
go type his name in on YouTube. But yes, very true also. But the other side of it too is he's great as an individual player, but Houston, to your point, Eric, is a very gritty team. And they have a lot of size and athleticism with the grittiness, the blue collarness that they exude. And they have guys that can really grind out a game and play a game that's essentially sub 100 until the very last shot that's taken. Like, that's a team that can do that even with Şengün. And you take him out of the picture, they have a bunch of guys that play to their identity as their individual pieces, not named Kevin Durant. And needless to say, KD can kind of get into that as well. So this is a game that they can go out and get. And unfortunately, the Suns will succumb to a team being able to outdo what they typically do to other teams.
I think a common thread with the Suns, the Rockets, at varying levels. We talked about, I used this word with the Thunder last night, too. You could probably use it to describe the Spurs as well. It's a level of relentlessness, right?
Mm-hmm.
This, like I said, the Suns did have a double-digit lead in this game,
Mm-hmm.
but there never was really a point where I looked at the Rockets thinking, oh, they're going to just fold and let this one go.
Yep.
And some teams in the NBA will have done that. I think the Lakers did that when the Suns whipped them and sent them back home, to get whipped again by the Rockets on Christmas Day. But I think the Rockets are a relentless team that kind of goes with their pursuit on the offensive glass. You talked about the offensive glass being basically even, especially considering what the Rockets do on that side. 15-11 evens out to being even, but the second chance points being 21-5 is where the difference comes from, right? And then being 9-15 on those 15 offensive rebounds. So I think that was why they just kind of stick to it. They have extended possessions, and then knowing you have a safety valve in Kevin Durant, knowing that Amen Thompson is a guy who is a blossoming star in the league, and you can rely on him as well. Those guys stepped up and made plays when need be. And then you talk about blue collarness. It was Josh Okogie kind of recognizing the play that the Suns were going to run. Had he not broken that up, maybe Devin Booker gets a clean look there. It was a pretty well-run play or well-thought-out play, but they couldn't get the execution there.
They've run it earlier in the season.
Yeah.
I'm pretty convinced. Wasn't
Yeah.
it to Grayson?
I think
at one
was
point?
that in Golden State, right?
Yeah.
Grayson got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they got the look. So good on Okogie for realizing what they were running there. Again, this game came down to the smallest of margins, the little things, and in a lot of cases this year they've executed that well. Tonight, I feel like Grayson coming back had some poor passes, especially in that second half, that cost them. Devin's shot selection at the end was not what you had hoped for in the way that they ran that clock down, and then you put yourself in a position where the ball was going to be in an all-time great scorer's hands, and he hit the shot. And that's, you have to accept that because you put yourself in that position, and KD took care of it at the end.
I'm kind of at the point where I don't take moral victories away. I think taking a moral victory away for a team like the Suns, who are now still 6 games over 500, right? Still big to pick up that win last night. Would have liked one tonight. Should have won tonight, in my opinion. So I'm not going to take away a moral victory, but I think there are some like absolute truths about this game that still kind of apply to all the messaging we've been saying about this Suns team. That they competed tonight. This was a close game. Like, the Houston Rockets are one of the better teams in the Western Conference. They've been on a little bit of a slide as of late, but they've only lost twice at home this season. They're 11-2 at home. They actually might be 12-2 at home now. So this is a team that really, really takes care of business. And again, I think the Houston Rockets are a better team than the Phoenix Suns as currently constructed right now. Obviously, we haven't seen either of these teams face off at full strength, but the Suns still competed. The Suns still showed that they belong on the same court and in a similar conversation. In my mind, these were two playoff teams battling tonight in weird circumstances, and it came down to literally one shot. That is impressive for this team. It is not a moral victory, but is just a confirmation that this team is still a competitive team in the West.
I was going to say, to that point, you mentioned something specific for me. So Devin Booker mentioned to me yesterday that the game against Oklahoma City and their ability to navigate the clutch so well against different teams is an example of how he imagines they'll be able to figure things out on the playoff stage. You said this felt like a playoff game in certain respects, the physicality and whatnot. There's one thing I've quietly kept in mind that hasn't been something that's hurt it. Oh my God, that's hurt them. Yeah, I've been spending time with my nieces too much. I can talk, I promise. But Houston having Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith Jr., Josh Okogie, Dorian Finney-Smith, Tari Eason, Kevin Durant. That's 6 wings that are all plus sized for their respective positions. It's not something that hurts the Suns because they can make up for it in different ways that other teams can't. Josh Okogie being arguably the best offensive rebounding guard in the league is one way of it. 6'3" guy that plays like he's 6'8". But you can't really replicate that against certain teams like Houston when we get back to that gritty factor that they bring to the game. And it felt like you said they went 9 for 15 on the offensive rebounds they got.
Yeah.
That's an example of it. The Suns aren't a team that doesn't box out, but when you're having to kind of work a little harder against someone that's a little bit bigger and they got 6 guys that are all main in their rotation, it's a little hard to deal with the wear down effect over the course of 48 minutes.
You saying that remind me of one play. It was also trying to box out Steven Adams. And I said, good box out, Steven. A good box out also. And he pushed him under the goal, but Steven Adams is just so strong that it didn't really matter. He was able to get it. Yeah, also fell. And there was another one where you thought you were going to get the rebound, and somebody got their hand on it, and it ended up just kind of making it deflect a different way. The Rockets are so aggressive in their pursuit of offensive rebounds, and it's just the style that they play that nobody else can really replicate. And also, if you don't have the size, like you mentioned, to combat that, there's only but so much you can do. And then, again, when that second chance comes, now you're scrambling defensively, and, now they're spraying the ball out to Kevin Durant, and he's making a decision. He's putting the ball on the floor, whatever. Didn't have his greatest three-point shooting night. I actually surprised he took 12 threes. He made the one that mattered the most. Yeah. But as far as that goes, you kind of get a little bit of a break there. And also credit goes to the Phoenix Suns defensively because he felt the defense and what they were trying to do and try to make him feel uncomfortable there. So, all in all, again, that kind of points the finger to Mark Williams. I know that the plan is part of the plan. Second night in a row, he plays 21 minutes. We were commenting a little bit that, before the game, I said, is it a matchup thing? Is it a Mark thing? Certainly, it might be a Mark thing. I might be a little concerned with what's going on with it.
I'll say the other thing real quick before I let you go. With this Houston team, especially without Şengün, something that the Thunder did last night, something to keep an eye on. Teams have a lot of wings that they trust in their main rotation to guard a center and also be able to switch and guard someone like Devin Booker or Jalen Green when he comes back into the lineup. How is Mark operating against these teams that have bigger wings that they're willing to go almost 5 wings or 4 wings and a smaller guard? Because there's a couple of teams in the West that can replicate that. It's not too many, but Houston is one of them. They need Mark Williams and his impact. And if he's not there and he's not bringing that, you feel his presence when it's not there.
Well, I think there was part of that tonight, too, when he went out with that ankle. Looked like he may have sprained it, and you had to run that short stretch with Oso, and that was where some of those rebounding problems came up as well. Even when Mark isn't 100% Mark, they're still better with him out there. But I think it's twofold. I think it's matchup and Mark problems. I think it's both things right now, and he isn't playing as aggressive. You brought it up while we were watching that he's not going up strong with some of these makes. It's tentative. You can't have that. Again, such small margins for error. You can't have him being tentative. You need him to be aggressive. So.
Well, look, we've got a ton to get into. We will read your super chats. I promise. We will read your super chats. We'll look at the numbers. We'll name a big, bright, shining star or due to the night. I keep on saying that. Or due to the night.
Yeah, you're just stuck in last year.
I'm saying when I see Kevin Durant, I get stuck in last year.
But he was the first one that wanted to move on.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. It's the concussion. Sorry,
the
guys.
big, bright due to the night.
The big, bright due to the night kind of rips. Low key.
There we go.
We'll name our blue collar boy X Factor of the night, and we'll keep on talking about all of this. We're going to keep it rolling on PHNX Suns post-game show. Don't go anywhere on the other side of this break. The husband and wife law team. Sometimes things in life don't go great. Like, of course, tonight, some stuff didn't go great for the Suns. And in real life, it could be an accident or a serious injury. And the lawyer you hire, it matters. And that's why you've got to call the husband and wife law team, because Mark and Alexis Breyer lead an experienced law team with hundreds of years of combined trial experience with multiple certified specialists in personal injury and wrongful death. And while nobody can guarantee the outcome of a legal case, they are happy to make guarantees to you and all of their clients. Like, you have the right to know that they will always tell you the strengths and the weaknesses of your case so that you can make an informed decision. You can also cancel your fee agreement at any time for any reason. You can receive at least as much in your pocket as they receive for their fee, even if they reduce their attorney's fee to do so. Plus, you may speak with one of their lawyers as often as you choose about anything you'd like to discuss, except for probably the Suns games. If you've had a serious injury, call the husband and wife law team first at 602-783-8841. That's 602-783-8841, or visit their website at the link in our show notes and tell them that PHNX sent you.
And KD fans, don't call because hurt feelings don't count. Circle K, got to tell you about it. It's my favorite place to stop every morning because I need my caffeine and sometimes my car needs gas. And because I'm a member of the Inner Circle, when I show up, I get discounts. And you can too. Yes, even you KD fans. If you have a Circle K near you, all you got to do is become a member of the Inner Circle. You're going to save 25 cents off your first 5 gallons of gas, or your first 5 fill-ups. Then you're going to save 3 cents off per gallon, then 5 cents off per gallon when you hit that Freckle Mamba level. And you know what? You're going to get great deals on Polar Pops, 79 cents, Frosters, 99 cents, meal deals, everything that you could want, you're going to get a discount on over at Circle K. And the best part, it is free. All you got to do is download that Circle K app today, put in a little bit of information, and you are going to become a member. So join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply like everything in life. At participating locations, visit CircleK.com for details.
If you're here because you want to troll us, if you're here because you like us, or somewhere in between, you can always hit that like button. You can subscribe as well. We do pregame, postgame shows, watch-alongs, of course, all sorts of regular shows as well. Tomorrow, a 3 p.m. show. Might be talking a little trade talk tomorrow a little bit, or the lack of a trade talk with Dillon Brooks, as Matt Ishbia put an ish to that.
This is true.
We can also tell you guys you can support us by becoming members today. You can become a member. It's next to that subscribe button after you hit it. And once you are a member, you get access to exclusive emojis. You get a prepaid super chat every single month. Plus, you get access to exclusive content as well. And as every month that you are a member, you get an updated badge. So everybody with the green name in the chat, thank you so much. You guys are members. Let's go ahead and get to some super chats here, since there's been some requests to read them.
Let's do it.
Hoosman with a $2 super chat says, what happened to the foul to give? Was there one?
There was one. I think that's a tough situation, because if you try to take that foul and Katie pulls up, you're given 3 free throws. Like, you had one, but again, tough with that little time and trying to make a split-second decision to try to foul a guy without it being in the shooting motion.
So I was going to ask about that, because I remember they said it on the broadcast, and then I thought they said, "Oh wait, never mind, there wasn't a foul to give."
I thought it was 4.
I think it said 4. And the next one would have been. I can look and see how many were made in the last 2 minutes.
Would it have been 5th?
It would have been. They would have gone
so
to the line. So yeah,
you didn't
so
have one to give.
I think there wasn't a foul to give, and they just misspoke. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Even if there was, it's a tough situation.
Yes,
to foul line,
especially knowing what he's doing.
Yeah, especially knowing that he can draw free throws as well, and Kevin Durant knows he's going to shoot the ball, and if they're going to give anybody that call, it's going to be KD. Speaking of KD, Teddy, who is a KD fan and a Sixers fan, remember the last time that we heard, maybe 2 times ago, Teddy ignited the all-time VJ Edgecombe debate. So thank you, Teddy, for always checking in with us. Says, dead homies, if Kevin Wayne had cut his threes in half, y'all would have got spanked. 12 was OD.
Yeah. Yeah, and if Devin Booker had hit another three,
I mean,
and that's
yeah.
it, like
If it's for fifths,
yeah, we'd all be drunk.
If Jordan Goodwin knocked down 3 more in the second half, this would have been a game just like last night's one.
Yeah, and if Jalen Green played, we would have. I mean, like, I hear you. Kevin Durant didn't shoot well from 3, but he hit the one that counted, and I don't think that really matters.
I mean, to that point, too, that's probably part of the game plan to make him shoot 12 threes. So I think that was exactly that's the point.
Yeah,
that you make him do that.
If the shot clock operator wasn't sloppy, we would have had a clock the whole game. I mean, there's a lot of ifs.
Riddle with another super chat. Thanks, Riddle. Been super consistent with the super chats lately. 499 says, Devin Booker frustrates me under pressure. He holds the ball too long and loses focus. Now, Riddle, while tonight was frustrating, might I just encourage you to go and watch last night's game? That's why you trust Devin Booker in these situations. It's a make or miss league, and he's made more of them than anybody since he's entered the league when it comes to clutch game winners.
I will say this. I understand the frustration of some of the decision making at times. And yeah, you have nights like last night, and then you'll have games like this. But I think people forget that, every guy that takes those big shots, that has hit a large amount of them, has also missed a large amount of them, or stepped on the 3-point line and only gotten 2 instead of 3 in a clutch shot. Like, every guy's been there, no matter how good they are.
The best guys across their careers are shooting like 29, 28% on these shots. That's not just because guys are having high volume. These are tough. It's predictable. You have a great player that takes great shots from specific pockets of the floor with specific rhythms. Just as he's paid to be at the top tier of his skills, guess what? There's coaches on the other team that are well-trained and understanding, okay, Devin likes to get to his left hand, 2-dribble pull-up, likes to pull up threes or throw up a pump fake or get to the midi, 2-dribble, 3 dribbles, and then pull up at the elbow. They're trained to take those things away and know those tendencies as well. So it's not easy to operate in those specific pockets. That's why last night's shot was so incredible.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't like the shot selection. That's where I was trying to go. And the air ball, obviously not what you want. Yeah, sure. I mean, sure. But yeah, you're gonna have to take the game winner last night with the misses too.
I was gonna say about the one where it seemed like he held the ball too long. That was frustrating to watch that happen. But as I was watching that play kind of develop, you look on the court. Credit where it's due. The Rockets have assembled a really staunch defensive group. And typically you send a ball screen there and kind of free things up. But do you really want, like, of the defenders that were on the court at that time, who are you comfortable with switching on Devin Booker? It would have just been more of the same. So he kind of had to get to a spot the best way possible. I think that a ball screen would have muddied it up even more, and he got caught in no man's land. What I would have liked is him maybe try to penetrate and create for somebody else in that position.
Yeah.
But then you'd be criticized for not taking the shot.
And that's it's whoever you make the shot, you miss the shot. If Devin Booker misses the shot last night, the entire conversation last night is the same that we're having tonight. And if he hits it tonight, then you flip it. And I know that's like very simple analysis, but I kind of agreed in the moment where I wanted to see something else. I wanted to maybe look at the coaching staff and say, like, really, like, that's what we drew up now with 15 seconds left. I get wasting time.
I will just interject now. They took the center off the floor. They had all wings. There was no one to go at. If anything, it looked like they wanted to bring Kevin Durant to the ball, trigger that switch, and let Devin work against the oldest guy on the floor. That would have been their best bet, but they got to trying to screen for Devin way too late. It was like 6 seconds left at that point.
And that's what I'm saying is, like,
you can't move that slow, but even still, okay, you got the switch with KD. That's a 7'4" wingspan dude that's good at moving his feet. And also won't foul you, right?
Well, and that's the Houston. That's why the Rockets are so deadly.
That's my point. There was no right answer in terms of going at matchups. You should just win quicker,
right? And I think going quicker, and when you're coming out of a timeout too, and the Suns, like, both teams coming out of timeouts tonight had not played that great. The Rockets got an 8-second violation out of a timeout.
Ball away one time.
It was great, yeah. But with the Suns, with this, it was like, okay, if the plan is, okay, Book, if you've got this guy and they've got all wings out there, and we're not going to, get you a switch. We're not going to try to get you to drive and create for somebody else. I get that you want to take as much time off the clock as possible, but when you are on a shot clock and you are winding down, the person defending you, as these clock ticks down and down and down, there are less and less and less things that you can do. And in those situations with great individual defenders, when it gets to 2 seconds and Devin Booker has the ball in his hands, he can't create any space against this team. I just think you need to get going a little bit sooner and try to create some little bit of advantage, even if it's going to be hard to do against Houston.
But the thing also is you don't want to give Houston too much time left either, because you know how efficient they are offensively. You know what Kevin Durant can do. I think they strategically were trying to use that clock. And if he hits that shot, nobody's saying anything about how much time he took. I think they were trying to be strategic. Now, it wasn't the shot that you wanted, but in theory, you did accomplish what you were hoping to do in terms of running the clock down and making it tougher on Houston to hit that shot. What I didn't like was their defensive decision on the final play, because if I'm remembering correctly, I don't believe they brought a second guy at KD there when he's going up for the shot. I would have preferred that rotation to be cleaner and put additional pressure on the defensive side, but I'm okay with them trying to run the clock so you don't give Houston too much time to make a move at the end.
Yeah, and the only other thing I was thinking about on that possession where Book kind of got caught when he did, like maybe you try to do some action off the ball and kind of have that going on to distract the help side defense, and it's kind of an either or. He can either try and wiggle and see if he can get something, or if not, he can see how stuff develops. But you don't want to kind of, I guess, get in the way of wherever he's trying to get to the spaces that he's trying to get to. But the important thing, and that's why you play 82 of these games, okay, what you did on Sunday against the Thunder works in that situation against their profile of defenders. What you did tonight is not going to work against the Rockets. The next time you see something like that, or the next time you're just in a similar situation, maybe you try something with that in mind, because you see this team, if you see this team again, wherever it is, now you can go to that position, go to that and try that. So, you know, the loss stings. It sucks for it to happen the way it did, but what do you take from it? All right, next time we're in this position, this opportunity, we're going to run something differently and not let it run down, the clock run down like that, where you get a shot clock violation on a fadeaway.
Yeah, it felt like just more than anything else, they lacked that kind of that decisiveness with it. It felt like they got out there, they had a plan. For whatever reason, the plan didn't make as much sense as it did on the board once they got out there. So at that point, that's when your best player just got to say, all right, forget it. The play is to have me with the ball in my hands and me making a decision and me put myself in best position to be successful. It's what happens. It's the feast and the famine. Last night it worked for you, tonight it didn't. That's what happens with
Was Devin Booker's shot last night a good shot?
That's a good shot for him.
But that's the thing. Is was it a good shot?
If he makes it, it is.
But was it a better shot than what he took tonight?
Yes,
it was, and I thought he was going back to the same shot once he committed to going to the left hand, because it was there. And if he pump faked, who knows? If they jump, then you get free throws, and if they don't, he might just knock down a shot like he did 24 hours ago. I felt like personally, and I can't speak for him, but I just feel like he's so comfortable when he gets into the 1 and 2 dribble pull-ups going to his left hand from deep specifically. Why not just go back to that same one? It felt like maybe he overthought it a little bit. I just took this one yesterday. Maybe it's not going to be there again. And then he takes the extra dribble, and now the shot opportunity that was there is not there anymore.
I think he brought up a good point, though, last night, right? When he was talking about late-game situations and how all this is a learning process. You know, and essentially made it sound like make or miss. We're learning something that, as he said, we can use in the playoffs. And he quickly said in late season games. But this is another one. You take to it. You watch the film tomorrow and you go, okay, here's where we could have improved. Here's what we do. And then, like this team has proven almost every time this year, when they get a second chance for a similar situation, you take advantage of it. Yeah,
yep, 100%.
Yeah, we're going to look at the numbers. Some interesting post-game comments from Kevin Durant that we're working on getting behind the scenes. We'll still name our dude of the night. We'll name our blue-collar boy. We'll keep things rolling. On the PHNX Suns post-game show, the Suns do fall to the Rockets by 3 points, dropping to a measly 6 games above 500. Next game is on Wednesday. Before that, we're going to wrap up tonight, and we'll do it all on the other side of our final break. You already know Phoenix is one of the best sports cities in America, but this spring they're about to raise the bar to a whole new level. And of course, I'm talking about NASCAR and the NTT IndyCar Series racing during the same weekend, and where else would they do it but Phoenix Raceway? And you can get a front row seat to it all. It's the kind of energy you really have to feel in person to understand. The burning of the rubber, the roaring of the engines, the crowd going crazy. And if you want the best access in motorsports, go inside the garage, walk the track, meet the drivers, catch the pre-race concert. Well, you can get all of that over at Phoenix Raceway. Ticketing options and camping options are all available at the link in our description, so make sure you mark down the dates. March 5th through the 8th. It's NASCAR and the NTT IndyCar Series on the same track. Not at the same time, but during the same weekend for the first time into history. Secure your seats now at the link in our description. Once again, March 5th through the 8th at Phoenix Raceway, link in our description.
You want to bet on that race or NBA games or like Division II college football or whatever it is, they've got it at Bet365 because you know what? 90 million people know that Bet365 is where it's at. And they have live in-game betting for over 78 sports. I couldn't even tell you 78 sports.
I can't even 78 either.
Yeah, I couldn't even think of probably 28 at this point. But all 78 of the ones that Bet365 has, they have ways that you can bet on them, and I highly recommend it. And breaking news right now from Bet365. Thank
There
you.
it is.
I don't have it in me anymore. You've got to bring it. I was hoping that's what they do when the shot clock ran out. New customers now get 200 in bonus bets when you bet 5, win or lose. Sign up using that promo code PHNX365. Deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get 200 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with Bet365. Must be located in Arizona and be 21 or over. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text next step to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov. And a big congratulations to our man Buddha the Schizo, who was out here and just said he hit a big jackpot downstairs.
Hey!
Here at Gila
Oh,
River.
that was you that was yelling.
Yeah,
That was
right.
Buddha the whole
Let's
time.
go,
Buddha.
Buddha. Come on.
Buddha.
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 Go rub his belly. We need some extra luck.
All right,
to
you
go
doing
there.
too much.
Yeah.
You doing too much.
Hey, all
Yep,
right.
there it goes.
Let's get some super chats in here before we take a look at the numbers. Joshua Lopez with the 199 super chat says Booker selfish SMH. If he hit the shot, you wouldn't be able to say. And
Best man take on the team takes the shot. That's
was Kevin
selfish?
Durant selfish for not passing the ball in the final possession?
So Booker
Those
is
12
damned.
assists over the last
Booker is
two.
damned
yeah.
if he does, damned if he doesn't. If
Yeah.
he doesn't take enough shots, people criticize him for that. If he does get selfish and put the team in a position to be successful by him taking it,
His 12
Can't do
assists
that
over the
either.
last 2 games are really selfish, too.
Really selfish.
with a low turnover rate too.
Kara with a $10 super chat, thank you, Kara, says, even after everything against us the past 24 hours, we still almost won the game. Nobody can say shit about us. There you go.
They're trying to say it, but they can't say
I mean, they're
it.
trying. Yeah, they're trying.
Kara's always matter of fact.
Very
We
matter of
appreciate you.
fact. Trevor with a 199 super chat. Thanks, Trevor. Says, good game, but mad because this was our game to win. I think
Agree.
that is
Big
the most
fact.
frustrating part. It's
Missed
not that you
opportunities.
lost tonight. It's not that you dropped down to 0-3 against the Rockets, who are clearly a bad matchup for you. It's that I think you should have won this game. And you were in a position to win this game, and you didn't take advantage of it. It shouldn't have come down to the final shots. We shouldn't be sitting here talking about Devin Booker missed the final shot and Kevin Durant hit it. Like, we should have been talking about the Phoenix Suns went ahead in the second half and they're able to take care of business. But the Rockets, they took advantage and they played better in that fourth quarter. And the Suns didn't crack 20 points in either of the final 2 quarters. They scored 29 in the first quarter, 31 in the second, and then 18 and 19 in the third and the fourth. That's not going to get it done.
Well,
Yeah.
and they were still right there, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
That was my point to begin the conversation. Man. You can't get 18 and 19 in the second half, respectively, in each quarter, and expect to win against most teams, but especially not this Houston team, because that's a scoring pace that they're very comfortable playing with. They take a league low attempting threes, and they make one of the league's best in terms of percentage. They're fine playing super slow. That's to their advantage.
Yes.
Only one quarter a team scored above 30 points tonight, and that was the Suns in the second
Suns in
quarter
the
at
second,
31.
Yeah, to score 60 in the first half and only score 37 in the second half is pretty crazy. Speaks to the kind of game it was. I mean, the Rockets had 46 in the second half, so it wasn't like they were like torching the Nets or anything like that. But yeah, that felt in that sense very much playoff like, right, where things are working and clicking for you in the first half and then the second half, and that's kind of what I talked about beforehand when we kind of were guessing and assuming how the playing issues might have affected this team. I was like, hey, they might come out and just like not care about it because they're just going off of vibes and fumes and momentum, I guess. And at some point, it just kind of reality hits and says, well, hey, guys, you actually just flew on a plane for however long it takes to get to Phoenix and Houston, and then your entire game day routine is off. And it's not an excuse. It's just the reality of it. And I don't think that anybody is in there making an excuse about Jordan Knott. Said there's no excuses. This is the hand that we're dealt. But I think that that's an easy way to say, hey, look, that does look like a team that is off a little bit, because the tale of two halves to be that drastic, something had to have an impact on it.
I think there's some of it that's probably attributed to what you're speaking to for sure. I think the other half of it, and this is the part that I want to kind of lean into more, is just Houston kind of out physicaling the Suns in the second half. The
We're
first
down.
half, the Suns played it on their terms. The ball was moving, knocking down some threes. They're getting out in the fast break. All of the little things that are akin to what their team identity is when they're successful this season. The first half was that. They got out to a hot start. They played the game on their terms. They controlled the margins, all of that. Second half was the polar opposite of that. That's why I keep harping on Houston. They didn't really make adjustments per se. They played better in the second half. They played their style of basketball. I think the other big thing is just that they were just more physical, and it's because kind of size component. I do think the Suns could use a little bit more size. I mean, this is what we'll be getting to, I imagine, tomorrow. People have some things to say about that.
You're 100% right, though. The Rockets leaned into their strength, which is that size and physicality.
It's like they remembered that they have that as an advantage.
Yeah. They have those wings, and that's where the Suns have their biggest weakness. The Suns are deep at guard, and they have a quality center, and then they lack size. And that's why it's a nightmare matchup, especially when Houston's at full strength. Yeah. You add Sengun in there, and it's a massive problem because you can't counteract that as the Suns. Luckily, not a lot of teams in the NBA are built like Houston with that size and that versatility with that size. And kudos to the Rockets for utilizing that strength in the second half and then using the knockout blow with KD.
Yeah, look, let's go ahead and take a look at the numbers here because I think they also tell a story about the game tonight. Of course, the only number that matters that KD stands, will remind you in the chat, is 197. Rockets beat the Suns. Field goal percentage, 42% on 88 attempts for the Suns, 43.7% on 87 attempts for the Rockets. Rockets shot 24.3% from deep, an uncharacteristically low percentage from deep from them tonight, 34% on 41 attempts for the Suns. Free throws, Suns missed 3. The Rockets missed 6, both shooting in the 70s. Suns got out rebounded by 11, but won the assist margin 23-20. Any other numbers? I know, Steven, you had us close our eyes earlier that stand out to you as not why the Suns maybe should have won this game, but why they did lose.
I mean, I'll point out the three-pointers. We talked about them going 14 to 41 in the game, but they were 10 of 21 in the first half, which means they were 4 of 20 in the second half. So you think about
they smoked them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's really good. But, if you just shoot 30% and you go 6 of 20, or actually shoot 35%, you win the game. You know what I mean? So, like, they couldn't get those shots to fall for them. I think, again, it wasn't there in the second half. A lot of things that were there in the first half weren't there for them in the second half, and I think that had a hand in it. Again, there are other things too, but that's a stark contrast between first and second half of shooting.
The first half, 23-4 fast break points. You know what it was at the end of the game?
Let me guess.
23-8. So the Suns didn't get any points in the fast break in the second half. That's typically a barometer for their activity on the defensive end of the floor. They're getting deflections, they're getting their steals, they're playing off of misses consistently, racking up those kills. That's when they're playing it on their terms, and back in alignment with what I was speaking to earlier, the second half being played on Houston's terms. No Suns, fast break points, not really forcing many turnovers. That's not them playing to their identity, having to go up against that crop of wings that they have, and when they're set, that gets arduous, especially if you're doing it possession after possession, and they're grabbing offensive rebounds on their end to the point that you made earlier in the show as well. That's tough. And then the other one I wanted to bring up, which is the reason why they should have won, 25-20 in the bench points. The Suns won in the bench points again. Typically, that's a barometer for when they're winning games, but they're doing that.
Yeah, the one that stands out to me it involves those bench points. It's Jordan Goodwin had 11 points, was 3 of 4. But most of that, if not all, came in that first half.
All his threes were in the first half, for sure. Yep.
And when he's 3 of 4, which
they're all in the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, I would have, and I get it. The defense and focusing on him changes that. But I would have liked to have tried to find some ways to get him some additional looks because he's a guy that's been completely en fuego over the last 2 games. What was he? 11 of
16.
11, 16, yeah.
Like over the last 2 games, I would have liked to see him find a way to get some opportunities in that second half. And I feel like that was one of those if only kind of things. But again, plenty of ifs, but you didn't get it done, and that's the only thing that matters.
But to that point, Espo, if they're not moving the basketball, like Jordan Goodwin's not coming off of pick and rolls and pulling up against drop coverage. He's also not somebody that's just pulling up threes in isolation either.
Very true.
if he's getting those shots, that means that they're moving the ball to a certain level. It might not always be a high volume of passes, but passes with intent, like it was against Oklahoma City last night. I think they only had 21 assists, but every pass that was made was with intention after attracting defense.
To that point, though, I would have liked to have seen Colin Gillespie play more than the 25 minutes and not have Grayson Allen play 22, because Colin is a guy that we've seen over the last handful of weeks can really get that offense moving where Grayson was struggling tonight. I think that's, again, one of those adjustments that Coach Ott will probably go back and look at the film and go, well, maybe I should have done that differently. But it's tough when you're also trying to get Grayson back in the flow, and he had six first half assists as well. At least most of those came in the first half as well. So it's this tough balance, and again, something you learn from as you go along.
I think that's something I talked about with a couple of our appreciators that came through and watched the game with us today. Getting back healthy is awesome, but the readjusting of roles and minutes totals and the rotation rhythm for guys. Colin's not playing the same rhythm of minutes that he was even just a few days ago, yet alone a few weeks ago when he was at the best of himself. So there's a lot of unlearning and relearning that comes with the rhythm of when you're in a game, what actions and sets are being called at certain points in the game. There's a lot of that going on. It's going to take a little bit of that learning, not excuses, just pointing at things that are a little bit off right now.
And you got to trust yourself again, too, when you come back from injury.
He needs to see one go through.
Yeah.
Grayson Allen, because it's been about 2 months since he had a good game.
Because I was curious, I wanted to see. I mean, there weren't that many points to be scored in the second half, but 23 of those 25 bench points were scored in the first half. So your reserves scored 2 points in the final 2 halves of the game, and all 6 of Grayson's assists were in the first half. And, I think that's just a tough thing when, the guys who you're going to kind of spell the starters, they can't really do anything. And if, again, similar to what I was saying, if you make 1 or 2 more threes, if you can get 1 or 2 buckets from those guys, again, that just changed, especially in a one-possession game, a one-score game. That changes the entire outlook of everything. I know you talked a little about Grayson seeing one go in, and you asked me before the game the difficulties, Espo, about coming back having not played in a while, and I said your timing. And those turnovers that we saw from Grayson, even though he had a 2-to-1 assist-turnover ratio, those turnovers were bad turnovers, and he kind of got fortunate with one of those assists that should have been a turnover.
Yeah.
You could tell that his timing was just a little bit off because, again, you can't replicate what's happening, especially the physicality of the Rockets, in addition to playing at game speed with guys you haven't played alongside in a few weeks.
Yeah, look, Kevin Durant was fantastic tonight. I don't think it was his best game ever, but it was certainly good enough. I think he was the best player on the court for the Suns, and obviously this game means a little bit against the Suns.
Jeez.
Well, when we bring up this next clip, it'll kind of make sense as to why that was in my brain. Kevin Durant talked about winning this game, and as Kevin Durant does, he was very frank with his comments about the Phoenix Suns organization.
It feels good to play against a team that booted you out the building and scapegoated you for all the problems that they had. And it hurt because I put all my effort and love and care towards the Suns and the Phoenix area, Arizona in general. But that's just the business. That's the name of the game. And, so when you play against a team, you got a chip on your shoulder. You don't want it to get too big, have too big of a chip, and it gets in the way of the game with my teammates. But in the back of my mind, it's there. It's nothing but love for the players, but I want to beat that team. I want to show them that I still got some juice in the tank, even though I'm old. I still can play. I feel like every player has that mentality playing against their former team. I don't think it's malicious in any way towards them, but just as a competitor, you want to go out there and beat them, and then to beat them on a game-winning shot like that, But by the time I get home tonight, I probably won't even remember it. Or I will remember, but I'll try my best to forget about it and move on to the next game.
I mean, no one can tell KD how he should feel about the situation at all. I think everybody agrees that the way he found out that he was even being shopped in the market for someone of that stratosphere of players in the history of the league, yet alone at this present moment, wasn't right. So for him to feel how he feels, I don't think anybody can blink an eye or bat an eye at any of that. And he won in terms of showing how he felt about the way his former team did tonight in tonight's game.
That's exactly what he's supposed to do, though, right? He's supposed to use things as motivation. That's what all the greats did. Kobe did the same thing about when he felt slighted by something. So I think that's exactly the mentality that Kevin Durant should approach it with. But let's be honest, sometimes breakups are good for both sides. Sometimes things don't work out. They just don't fit. And I think that was the case. And the way it went down, not the way you handle a superstar. It shouldn't have gone down like that with him finding out through the media, but I also think that both sides have found a better spot right now.
Well, and there are people in there asking, is that AI? Who's that from? Dwayne Rankin posts that. Last I checked, Dwayne Rankin, not in the artificial intelligence business.
No.
He's on the road with the Suns.
AI.
There you go. But he's on the road with the Suns for every game. And so obviously, like, that's a really strong statement. I don't think you would expect anything else from Kevin Durant. Honestly, I think that the nuance in all of this is lost from both sides. I think there are Suns fans that are really mad. I think there are KD stands that are really, really mad. Like you mentioned, Espo, like both sides can win. And like, I do think that Kevin Durant was a part into why the Phoenix Suns didn't work the last couple of years. I don't think it was his individual play on the court, but I do think that there was some sort of culture, and it wasn't just him. It was Mike Budenholzer. It was the Phoenix Suns. I even put out a video when Kevin Durant's era ended here saying the Phoenix Suns are the ones who deserve the blame for how this all played out, but that doesn't mean that he's completely exempt from it. All of these things can be true at once. Having Dillon Brooks on this team and hopefully adding Jalen Green and Kaman Malawach and Rasheer Fleming should shift the trajectory of this franchise's future. Getting Kevin Durant shifts the trajectory of the Rockets now. Both of those things can be true independently of each other, and both fan bases can be okay with it.
Putting the blame at the feet of Kevin Durant, it isn't something that I think Suns fans should do. I don't think it, in the end, it didn't work. And that's just the reality of it for a multitude of reasons. There was chemistry issues. There's everything. It was a mess. And sometimes that happens when you put things together. It doesn't work. And that, I don't think it's anyone to blame. I think everybody moves on and you accept where you are now. The Suns are, 5 games over 500 right now. They're right in the mix of the playoff run. The Rockets have championship aspirations. Everybody kind of wins in that situation because he's getting to chase what he wants. Suns fans are getting to look at a potential playoff team that they're having fun with. I think that's it. Yeah, I mean, you can blame James Jones if you want.
Yeah, I would say you all hit the nail on the head. Like there's definitely some good and goodbye sometimes, and I think that's what it is. It needed to end. Kevin Durant is with a team, like you said, championship aspirations. Of course, nobody can tell him to feel the way he felt. I don't think that anybody here or anybody really is saying, oh, he's washed. He doesn't have any juice left. I don't think anybody thought that he couldn't play anymore. No. I think that is inaccurate. But other than that, like, of course he's going to hype himself up and give him an edge. He's one of the all-time greats, and that's exactly why. But ultimately, the moves that were made were the best moves for all parties involved. It happened the way it happened, and I understand him feeling the way he feels about the way it happened. But now it's just a matter of settling on the court, which he did tonight. And next time these two teams face off again, it'll be the same thing.
It was in April. That's a long time away, but it's also going to be right before the playoffs too. Mm-hmm. Going to be a lot on the line for that. Yeah, for sure. Everybody should be knocking on wood that Jalen is going to be available and that both teams are healthy so that we can really see how the Suns stack up right before the playoffs get going for a team that's going to be in there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that these two teams can meet in the playoff depending how seeding works out. I mean, look, and not to belabor this point because we still have to talk a little bit about this game, but like with the Kevin Durant era in Houston, like coming to a close and coming to an end, I don't think there's really any Phoenix Suns fan that didn't understand why the decision would be made to move on. Now, you could talk about how that decision was made and why that would be upsetting, and I think if you're any player on the Suns last year, you're probably taking it personally. Everybody's to blame. That was the problem. Matt Ishbia took accountability. They fired the coach. They fired the GM. They traded and got rid of and didn't re-sign damn near the entire roster. They completely changed their identity. They changed how old their roster was. They changed what they were trying to do this year in the sense of let's build a team versus let's build a big three. Like, all of these things are true all at once, and it's okay to acknowledge that everybody got what they wanted. The Suns got what they wanted, a team that fans are excited about. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with other Suns fans this year and how much easier it is to talk about this team without Kevin Durant. And I'm not trying to take a shot at Kevin Durant, but I'm just saying the vibes around this team and what people like about this team and what they like about their identity is drawing fans in. That is an indisputable fact, and I'm sure the Houston Rockets fans can feel the same way. It's probably a lot better to talk about that team with Kevin Durant on that roster with what they've done and what they were really able to not give up that much to get him in their minds and build one of the most unique teams and certainly a title contender in the NBA. Both of those things are true, and it's fine. We don't have to go at each other's throats all the time. I don't care about Kevin Durant unless we're playing Kevin Durant. Nobody's talking about Kevin Durant in Phoenix unless we're playing the Houston Rockets. And you guys aren't talking about the Phoenix Suns actually you probably are, but unless we're playing you guys. We can have a little bit of back and forth rivalry, but I feel like some people are just this means everything and Suns fans are spiraling and you thought you won the trade. It's yeah, I think both teams won the trade because both fan bases are happier than they were 365 days ago. And that's fine. Can we just acknowledge that and move on? I'm so sick of it.
Well said.
Yeah, I agree. There's just move on. Everybody move on. It's a different year. Everybody's got a different feeling about where they're sitting right now, and I'm happy for everybody. And look, I don't hate the Houston Rockets because of Kevin Durant. I hate the Houston Rockets because of the 93-94 playoffs and the 94-95 playoffs. That's why, as a Suns fan, I hate the Houston Rockets and always will. And it has nothing to do with anybody that's there now. It has everything to do with Hakeem the Dream and Kenny Smith and Robert Horry and those teams that took Charles Barkley to the woodshed. That's why I dislike the Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap things up here. Let's take a look at our Dude of the Night, our big, bright, shining Dude of the Night presented by Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. That's right. It's exactly where we are. Hey, visit it right now. You do you. Look, it's Devin Booker.
We're doing us right now.
It's Devin Booker tonight, 27 points, also added 3 assists. Did have 4 turnovers. Not the best game from Devin Booker. Honestly, not a lot of choices for our Dude of the Night. I think Jordan Goodwin was on track in that first quarter to at least be in contention. Definitely a lot of solid games. Royce O'Neal, 15 points. Dillon Brooks, 15 points. Colin Gillespie, an okay 11 points, but 6 rebounds and 4 assists and a steal for Colin Gillespie as well. Goodwin, obviously, with 11 points off the bench. Our blue-collar boy of the night, though, I think, deserves a little bit more of conversation, and I want to give Espo and Steven a chance to really talk about Oso Ighodaro, who had 9 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. He had 5 offensive rebounds tonight, 3 defensive rebounds. Gil and I have talked quite a bit about Oso Ighodaro the last couple of games. He's really seemed to come into his own. Even in a loss like tonight, you saw him be, in my opinion, the best center on the court for the Suns, and that's 2 games in a row.
I have to first start by defending my guy, the Freckled Mamba, because we heard K-Ray on the broadcast refer to Oso as the connector, and that is trademarked by our man Ayrton. That is his nickname.
Hashtag the connector.
But Oso has gone out there, and in the matchups that play well to him, he has gone in there and done the little things. And I love what he's been able to do from the dunker spot or cutting down the lane. He's gotten easy baskets like that. He's not forcing crazy shots. He had an aggressive move where he went up and under on there and just missed the layup, which I like that he's trying to be aggressive as well. And the work on the boards was important tonight. When you look at it, he led the team along with Mark Williams in rebounds, but he is a key. He is your backup center. We have seen Nick Richards, banished to the shadow realm. He is not a part of this rotation. Come on, Malawach, not ready yet. You need Oso Ighodaro, and he stepped up. When you think about where we were in the middle of November with him and people wondering what the hell Jordan Ott was doing by even playing him in the rotation, and then seeing what he's kind of rounded out into as a quality backup big when you're playing a certain type of team. I think you couldn't be happier with what you're getting out of him right now.
Yeah, Oso is just a guy that, like I mentioned in post-game, I think it was after the Sacramento game, he's a guy that can be coached hard, but he's also a guy that can be led with a certain type of sternness. You don't have to coddle him because he's going to respond. He's not going to be a guy that wilts to accountability. He's going to be a guy that steps up in the ways that you need him to. Jordan Ott tells him that it's cool, it's really cool that you can switch, but I need you to impact the basketball. What does he do coming into this season? He's switching and shutting guys off from going one direction or the other, funneling them into help, but also controlling the pace at which they're doing so. That's a form of him responding to leadership. Jordan Ott tells him, okay, if you're not going to be a guy that's putting up points for us, you have to be a possession gainer for us. So that's why you have to impact the basketball with steals and deflections on defense. But on the offensive end, can you grab some offensive boards for us? 5 tonight, to your point. That's a guy that responds to when he's being challenged. Dillon Brooks talked about him getting in his face about a month or so ago, And then
Finally
the game
seeing him yell
happens and
back.
you start seeing him dunk on guys, and he's getting in Dillon's face about talking to him a certain type of way, obviously rooted in winning and being able to impact winning. But again, you can't have enough guys that are simply capable of being coached hard, led hard, and responding to that.
That speaks to Dillon's leadership too, because he
100%.
knew he could pull that lever with Oso and get additional fire out of him. With a guy that's so even keeled as Oso is, sometimes you have to do that. Smart leadership by Dillon as well. There.
And that's why Oso's better this season, because he's playing with more of a chip on his shoulder. He's hitting guys first on offense and on defense. He's playing with more. He's showing more of the kind of qualities that Dillon has and that Colin has now added to his bag as well. There's just these small seeds that have been planted in masked in villainship, but rooted in leadership. And those are the things that are coming from Dillon.
I want
That's
that
our play
on
of the
shirt
game
right there.
That's our play of the game, presented by AZ Lottery. Play and gift today if you are over the age of 21. I was going to say it was the lob that Oso Ighodaro caught in the first half, because that was nasty. He's been getting up and elevating on some jams, but I'm going to say Steven with the bars dropping here. That was our play of the game.
One thing I want to point out about this conversation that they were having, and you mentioned it when you kind of set it up, you're saying that in November we were wondering, what's the vision? What's going on here? Like, what's the deal going to be? That should inspire some confidence, because we saw some Rasheer minutes tonight. And it was 5 minutes, and he didn't look completely lost. We were a little taken aback and surprised by it. But, hey, maybe this is his point of that journey, where, like, we're wondering what's going on, what's he doing out there. If you really pay attention closely, you see a couple things, and hopefully 2 months from now, we'll be saying the same thing. Hey, you guys remember when he got a couple minutes in Houston?
Yeah.
Hey, this is all a part of the vision and the process of him getting to becoming the guy who they need him to be as a contributor off the bench. So just something I wanted to point out, because we didn't talk about the fact that Rasheer got 5 meaningful minutes in a game when it was in the meaningful time.
Eric, remember, and Espo, remember too, who was in this exact same position last year? Colin Gillespie.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he ended up being a literal starter for the team down the home stretch.
Yeah.
Obviously, the home stretch didn't amount to something for the team. But
It was,
for him,
we're staying at home.
Yeah.
for sure. But for him, it led to a contract that led into a significantly increased role, and guys empowering him to be a better version of himself than he was just last season. Not saying he's on that trajectory, but emphasizing, like you said, these times matter.
Yep.
Even that little 5 minutes, and him just being solid. He didn't do anything crazy on the positive side or negative side. He was just solid.
Yep.
That's where it starts at.
Literally was a 0. His plus minus was a 0. He had 2 offensive rebounds. We wish
He could have been +2, man.
Man, I know. He had 2 opportunities,
Yeah.
but we saw it's like, once he gets more confident,
sure.
he's going to finish that.
Yep.
Well, and here's the thing about all of this, right? I said at the beginning of this show, I'm not changing my expectations for this team. I'm not taking moral victories, but the Suns are in this kind of unique position where they are trying to win now. They don't have their own draft pick this year. They are a good team. They're a competitive team. They could definitely be a not play-in team in the Western Conference, but they're also shifting their identity and developing guys as well. I mean, Colin Gillespie's 26 years old, but this is his first full year in the NBA. That's a guy that you've been developing, that you brought in. Rasheer Fleming is playing a little bit. Kaman's not playing at all. Ryan Dunn and Oso are in their second year. So you have a big batch of guys that are coming in here that you are still trying to kind of play the long game with, or you literally are playing the long game with, including Mark Williams. And I know you and I brought this up over the last couple of games when Mark has struggled, where I think it's completely fair to criticize him. But I think because the highs have been so high with Mark, we forget that he just turned 24 years old and he's playing meaningful basketball for the first time in his career. This was the second back-to-back that he played since 2023 tonight. And the first back-to-back that he only played half the game because him and Jose Alvarado got into a little fight. So this for Mark Williams should hopefully be one of these learning moments that he continues to grow and to build on. And I think we've seen in this last month some of the lowest lows that we've seen from Mark this season, but we've still seen incredibly high highs, and that's okay because these are young players who are going to struggle and then who are going to find their groove and then they're going to struggle again. But as long as they consistently get better, this team will be set up not just to make a better run at the end of this season, but they should still be looking at the next season and the season after that. And how are you building these foundational blocks to compete not just this year, but in the Western Conference for years to come?
I agree. I think part of the reason that it looks so it feels bigger with Mark is because you don't have that same kind of center that you can turn to if Mark's having a bad game. It then puts Oso in a situation where he has to be everything at center, and that's just not advantageous for him, for the team. So I think that's why Mark, it feels bigger when he doesn't perform at the level we saw him perform earlier, because you don't really have that guy that you can turn to replicate some of what he does.
Yeah, totally fair. I think again, the criticisms of him, I know Sam's in the chat calling him soft. I wouldn't call him soft. I still think that he needs to find a way to play better. Like last night going into Chet Holmgren, he was trying to go around him instead of through him and to use that frame. But like Steven has said before, they need to be better at finding him as well and building that confidence. So look, they're going to get better. Mark will be better. This is also a really tough matchup, even without Şengün. Like, it's just a lot of physicality. And, again, the second back-to-back for him since 2023, the first real one. Firelord Wilson with a $5 super chat. Fire name, Firelord. Says, what are y'all thoughts on Oso and Mark together with Oso at the 4?
It's not in the Suns' identity. It's not identity. It's not in the Suns' rotation to have double big. Their bigs have to be able to complement each other in some capacity. Neither one of those guys is spacing the floor. Neither one of those guys is a Şengün type of guy. Oso can make plays. It's a very condensed set of plays that he's making. It's not I'm going to literally be the hub for the offense for a full 15 to 18 minutes a game the way that a guy like Şengün or Jokic can. Your bigs got to be able to complement each other. Look at the bigs that Houston has. Şengün can play with anybody because he's just a otherworld type of talent. The Suns don't have a guy that can do that to that extent yet. Maybe that's somebody we bring up tomorrow potentially in terms of trade options or guys that they could potentially look at.
Well, and to kind of push back a little bit, I think if you had a legitimate third center that you could run right now, that you might be able to experiment with that. But right now, you got to have one of them on the court at all times. Like, you can't play Nick Richards, you can't play Kamal Malawach. And maybe if you have, let's say, a supercharged offensive lineup of Colin Gillespie and Devin Booker and Jalen Green out there with defensively Oso and Mark, and Oso initiating with the ball in his hands, which he has become a lot more proficient at, and he's always shown flashes. We've seen him be really impactful at that. Imagine Oso handling the ball, Mark setting a pick, and you got 3 guys on the wings, on the corners in motion, and Colin Gillespie, Devin Booker, and Jalen Green. That presents a unique matchup. I don't know if that's the best lineup you could throw out there, but I think for some of these teams like Houston that are going to throw out a Şengün and a Steven Adams or a KD and whoever else is out there, because KD's really tall, it might be worth it to experiment if you could survive with another center's minutes on the court, because you need to have at least one of them at all times.
I think it just handcuffs you so much, because Mark and Oso are best when they're either in the dunker spot or rolling to the hoop from an offensive perspective. And I understand Oso can do some things with the ball, but a defense is just going to sag off of him. I think it causes too many issues. You lose the gravity to get those shooters open, and all of a sudden, we see this offense sometimes have trouble moving the ball when they have all the right pieces out there. I think it would grind things to a halt. Now, maybe when Malawach becomes a guy that you're playing, you could go Malawach and Oso and experiment, because Malawach can shoot a little bit, but right now I just don't see where it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I was going to say the last thing I think is something maybe Oso could work toward, because I do trust him and his playmaking. Like you said, the limited things that he can make, he does it very well. And I think if he can expand that package into me being confident in him coming off of a screen from another big, or just being a miniature version of the hub that we've seen other guys be, then maybe that's something to explore. So I don't think we completely pushed that idea out of the way. I just think he needs to be ready for it.
Yeah, I think it's something to experiment with, but I don't know how much room they have to experiment with stuff right now, because they've been playing a lot of close games. But maybe if you have a blowout the same way that you experimented with Ryan Dunn at point guard, I'd like to see. Plus, I mean, Mark Williams' minutes are kind of like a precious asset right now. He can't get over 30. He's played around 20 in 2 games back to back. You can't really play around with his minutes either. So again, I think Jordan Ott might try to go to it. I think there was a period of time at the beginning of the season, you correct me if I'm wrong, that the double big lineup that the Suns went to was Nick Richards and Oso, and that was terrible. But also that was Nick Richards and not Mark Williams.
Yeah, it's different when it's Nick out there and it's not. And I hate to be trying to paint him as the bad guy, but it's just different. It's just very different when he's the guy that's out there versus someone that has a little bit more skill or can provide a little bit more than what he's been providing of late.
I'm trying to find this stat because I saw from Basketball University the best defensive lineups in the NBA this season And I thought I saw something with Oso and Mark, but I didn't feel like they had played, but I found it fascinating. I can't find it right now. So do you guys have any final thoughts on tonight's game? An unfortunate loss for the Phoenix Suns, but a loss that you can learn from, grow from, and they take on Memphis on Wednesday, so you try to bounce back.
I
That
felt
was my
like
thought. Go ahead. Yeah,
tonight's game felt like one that you were missing the Bouye spark.
Oh, my
Mm.
gosh.
And again, it's
Might
not
go.
something that you're coming into a game expecting to have or relying on, but that's just a guy that finds those crevices to, okay, there's opportunity here. I'm going to go do this, whether it's picking up guys full court, forcing steals, knocking down some pull-up threes, like we talked about. It's not something that other guys do per se, Jordan Goodwin, but that's something that Bouye is.
Yeah.
If he's putting the ball up at the basket, he's comfortable doing it, whether it's catch and shoot or he's driving or he's pulling up. So I feel like they could have used one of those type of sparks in tonight's game, especially to your point where you said they only had 2 points from the bench in the second half.
Yep.
They had Bouye. I probably would say they get at least 2 more points than the
At
2
least.
that they got.
At least.
What a damn weird season that we're saying. If only
Exactly.
Jamar, I mean,
Exactly.
you look at this. This has been such a weird ride. This game kind of encapsulated that as well. And there's so much. You get a lot of hope out of it, which we have this season. You have very weird moments, which we saw with the clock, and we've seen with some of the other things throughout
Travel.
this year. Yeah, I mean, the plane not working somehow. This season is such an outlier, such a weird year. This game was too. But I leave this game like I have all season going, there's something good cooking here. And I can't wait to see how this all plays out.
Yeah,
Another positive real quick.
Yeah.
Royce knocked down 5 threes.
Yes, he did.
It's something that you need. He didn't really get it going yesterday in terms of scoring. He did a lot of things that will never take place on the box score. They were conducive to winning, but tonight he knocked down his threes.
We saw Dillon, I think, for the most part, harness all that energy. I think that's something that I thought about before the game and didn't say it, but I was like, maybe the novelty of playing the team that dealt you kind of wore off. Obviously, I think he understands that they're going to trade him for Kevin Durant because it's Kevin Durant, and I don't think he necessarily took it personally. But again, chip on his shoulder. But I think in the first couple of meetings, it was like, are you going to channel that a little bit the right way or the wrong way? But now here we go again. Wednesday's another team that traded him or that parted ways with him. And I think too, one thing is like I don't think that this loss is demoralizing to the fact that the Suns team's going to go into Wednesday still thinking about what they could have done differently tonight. Mm-hmm. I think they'll be fine, so don't let this get in the way of that. But again, same thing, harness that because it's a Grizzlies team who has definitely had worse injury adversity than you have this year, which is saying a lot. But don't take them lightly because they're a scrappy team. There are still some remnants of that grit and grind that just exists in the bowels of the FedEx Forum. So, go there and be ready for a fight and be ready to take care of business.
Yeah, but before Wednesday, I don't know if you guys know this, comes Tuesday.
Yeah.
And that brings a 3 p.m. show, a very rare 3 p.m. show in the middle of a season. We're going to be talking about, yes, the Phoenix Suns. We'll be talking about how they've been performing this season, but we are just a little bit over a month away from the NBA trade deadline. We've had some trade talks, either some BS reports from BR reports or from Matt Ishbia shutting them down. So we're going to talk about all of that. We're going to bring you some trades the Phoenix Suns could make to possibly solve some of the issues that we talked about tonight. Or maybe they just shouldn't make a move at all. A lot to dive into tomorrow, and then Wednesday, they're on the road, continuing their road trip, a little short 2-game stint, this time against Memphis, and then it's no rest for the wicked. You got New York, then you got the Washington Wizards, who are on pace with OKC the last couple of games, and Miami.
Actually, they might be ahead
of them now.
Yeah.
You got Miami, Detroit, New York, Brooklyn, who's been playing okay ball, Philadelphia, Atlanta. You've got a really tough stretch coming up, so you got to flush this one. You got to move on. You split OKC and Houston, and you should be okay with that. In theory, those might be 2 teams meeting in the Western Conference Finals and eventually moving on to the finals. So in the meantime, if you want to keep up to date with everything going on with the Suns, you can follow the show at PHNX_Suns. You can check out an exclusive interview that Gil did with Danny Manning. That is still up on our channel. It is evergreen. Definitely go check that out for stories on Charles Barkley, Steve Nash, why he chose the Suns, which was a very, very big deal for those of you who are not aware of that entire situation. Definitely encourage you to go check that out and show Gil and Eric Brereton some love. Worked really hard on that and got it done for us. Plus, you can follow me at ERIKRUBY. You can follow Gil at GilMcGregor _. You can follow Steven at StevenPG3. You can follow Espo and find him every single weekday morning on Southwest Bias. You can follow him at Espo. Follow the show at PHNX _Suns. You can follow the Freckled Mamba behind the Mac, making all the magic happen on a remote show at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, Wild Horse Pass. Big shout out to the Freckled Mamba. These things are not easy. The job that he does is already hard when we're in the studio.
Fleming? That's crazy.
When we're in the studio, the job is already hard enough. But coming out here, having the 3-cam setup today, everybody give it up for the Freckled Mamba. Hit the like button for the Freckled Mamba.
Can you stick that thumb out again here? We got somebody paler than Eric. All right.
Yay! And like chat would like to know, somebody taller than me as well. We'll talk to you all tomorrow for a Trade Machine Tuesday.
Ahoy.
We all silly like the mayor.